Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful empowerment virtual session that the Lexington Housing Authority will be hosting for you on today, which is February 24th. I am so blessed to be here to talk to you all again, to give you all some good information, share some information with you all, and just connect again. As you know, if you don't know, I am Whitney Middlebrooks. I am the Family Self-Sufficiency Program Coordinator with the Lexington Housing Authority. And every month, we partner with the B.O.S.S initiative as well, that Ms. Sage is the coordinator of. And we have workshops where we have some really good information. We want to connect with you all, provide resources, provide information from our speakers, and be able to inform our community of the great things that we have going on top of the relations that we are building. So I am so excited. Thank you all for being here. I have a couple people in the room, so I just want to say hello. If you want to just send me a wave emoji or something to let me know you're here. Hi, Bethany. She's watching on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just put a little emoji in so I can see you and say hello. So I'll go ahead and have before I say anything, I just want to say we have a wonderful speaker, but we're going to get into that in a minute. Ms. Sage, if you want to go ahead and let everyone know who you are and what you bring to the table today.
Okay, I'm going to just flow right from my introduction of who I am into the introduction of our speaker. So I am Sage Chioma. I am the program coordinator for B.O.S.S Initiative, which is building our success stories. And Whitney Middlebrooks, the tech genius, and I come every month. We've been here, and as a result of COVID, we could not meet in 2020. We had two in-person sessions, and wouldn't you know, we had to go into the virtual world, and our first virtual workshop was parenting in the age of technology. What a right. So now we are trying to just level up, and you will know what I mean when you hear today's speaker. Exactly. I want to talk to you about Miss Kia Lanae. She is a modern day Renaissance woman. Kia Lanae is an empowerment speaker, a writer, a performing artist, certified emotional circle facilitator, and creator of Edify newsletter, a communications professional, and she carries over 20 plus years of service and leadership experience and expertise. Through her own journey of healing and self-discovery, Kia recognized the tragedy of being stifled by fear, past trauma, and adversity as experienced within her community. So today, this old soul is helping others with similar challenges, those who are truly ready to evoke positive change from the inside out. And without further ado, I give you Kia Lanae.
Well, hello. Thank you so much. Woo, all right. I am so glad to be here. I just want to thank the Lexington Housing Authority for the invitation. Thank you, Miss Whitney. Whitney was helping me work some things out tech-wise, and always grateful for that. Just that's what we do. We help each other. So sure. Thank you all. Thank you, Sage. Always good to connect with you again and work with you. I'm just appreciative of our sisterhood as we continue to evolve. So thank you both for the invitation. And I'm excited. We're going to get into this session today. I'm excited for those who have come to the table. Now, listen, this is technology, right? And I know we are even more in the technology age. So I'm going to put a few things out there now. Sometimes I blink a lot. Pay no attention to that. All right. I might look at the wrong place, but that's okay. We are here. We're going to connect as organically as we can. We're going to talk about what it means to say yes to ourselves, to say yes to healthy relationships, starting with ourselves. And we're just grateful for all who are coming in the room and those who are in the room now. So I see some comments off to the side. Welcome everyone. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. So we just appreciate your engagement, your questions. Yes.
Before we go, I always like to let people know. So if we have some new Lexington Housing Authority community residents in the live, if you're looking on Facebook or YouTube, first of all, welcome. But I also want you to know that a part of this workshop series that we do is we love for you to engage. So feel free to please put a comment in, or if you have a question, or if you want to ask Miss Kia, something specific about what she's saying, feel free to ask that. And I'll definitely put it on our screen so that everyone can see your question and that she can address you accordingly. And also at the end of our workshop, we do ask questions because we do give away a gift card to a lucky winner. So just we want you to just pay attention and be engaged. But yeah, so it's just fun. And we'll get to that at the very end. So without further ado, Miss Kia Lanae, you can go ahead and get started.
All right. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to share several pieces of information with you all today. And I am old school and I appreciate in-person interaction and just the energy that comes with that. But we are doing what we need to do right now. So as Miss Whitney said, ask questions and just know that we are here for you. We are here for you. We are here for one another during this empowerment session on what it means to say yes to you. We're going to go a little deep, okay? All right. So I hope you all are ready. I hope you have your notebooks and a pen to be able to take some notes and refer back to. There is power in writing. There is power in reflecting. We'll talk more about that later. But for now, say yes to you. What does it mean to say yes to you? What does it mean to have healthy relationships, starting with yourself? We're not talking about being selfish. We're not talking about being self-centered. We're not talking about arrogance, but it's really about self-love, self-care that we're hearing so much about, especially this last year or so, and really what it means to get to know ourselves, to embrace ourselves. In order to do that, we got to go through some muddy waters with regards to some of the things that we carry so we can get to a healthy place. So we can get to a place of emotional intelligence. So we can get to a place where we have healthy relationships within our families, within our communities, first and foremost with our Creator. So we're going to talk about that today in the time that we have. First, we're going to start out with a piece that I'm sure a number of you are familiar with. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
You're good to go.
Okay, do you see it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Our deepest fear. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You, my friend, are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us, the glory of God that is within each and every one of us. It is not just in some of us, again, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Again, our deepest fear, it's not that we're inadequate. It's not that we're not good enough. Our deepest fear is that we are indeed powerful beyond measure.
Awesome. That was like can we do it? love
Thank you.
I love
And you
it.
know, that poem, again, that poem is by, I'm sorry, Marianne Williamson. She actually was a presidential candidate last year. But before that, and even now, she is a writer. And I would consider her a change agent as well. But when you think about that poem, I came across that piece years ago, and it really resonated with me as it does now. And I can read it with power and conviction and all of that stuff. But it took me some time to really get there, as I had to break down what that piece is actually saying. Because oftentimes when it comes to fear, yes, we fear rejection. We fear being, we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be misjudged. There's some legitimate fears that we have as human beings. But there's another fear of being your great self. Why do we fear that? Why do we fear reflecting the light that we carry and walking in our divine purpose and power? What scares us about that? And those are questions that we have to ask ourselves. Why am I afraid to be all that God, my creator, created me to be? Why am I afraid to shine bright? And that piece at the bottom says, when we shine bright, when we operate in our divine alignment, in our divine flow, we give others around us permission to do the same. But first, as I said earlier, we got some stuff to work through, ladies. And I know everyone on this call, and if there's a gentleman on here, to ladies and gentlemen, but we have some things that we have to work through before we actually can really step into it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I share is, are you able to show up for yourself? Are you able to say yes to you unapologetically? You know, for me, growing up, Whitney and I was talking earlier about she's talking about missing her family Sunday dinners and just missing that family time. And I think about the way things were. I think about the times that we shared, and we'll share again with our loved ones, and just growing up with a sense of community. Well, now dealing with this pandemic, things are a lot different. We are not able to, as we know, gather in person. And if we are seeing a loved one, we have to go through so much to make sure that we are safe and that our loved ones are safe. But as human beings, we were created to connect with one another, right? We're created to be in fellowship with one another. We need that. Community is who we are. But in this particular time, we have to do things differently. And for some, it's more challenging than others. And so, but there are things that we can do, and I want to tailor this presentation. There are things that we can do even now, being in this pandemic, even now, being in a place where there's so much fear that is being cast upon us, so much heaviness, so much pressure. Now is the time to tap in what we've been taught. Now is the time to go higher in who we are. Now is the time to really come together, to work through those things that we need to work through. Now is the time to go and really connect even more so with nature. As Miss Sage was saying earlier, she said she went for a walk and it was just so good. And I say now is a time, of course, it's great if you were already in that space, and I know some were, but what my point is that during the time that we're in, this pandemic, we still have power, even though we are restricted in this particular time. And I hope that makes sense. We still have power. You're still able to get up and your day can go according to how you planned it, given we start the day the right way. And I haven't just learned these things, that this took some time for me. For me to get to a place to say yes to me. And ladies, honestly, I am still learning what it means to say yes to myself. I came to that place, let's see, in 2015, I believe it came to me, those words, that still quiet voice, that I hadn't truly said yes to myself. I got to a place at the end of 2012 where I got to the very end of myself. Life situations, grief, one loved one after another passing away, situations on within my career. And this was prior to I was married, so the dating scene and everything that can come with that. At the end of 2012, I came to the very end of myself. Now, see, I was in the community and serving here in these organizations and doing some wonderful things. But on the inside, I knew that there was so much more. And I knew there were some things that I needed to really deal with and some healing that I needed in order to go to the level that God had called me. But how do you do that? How do you do that when you feel at times stuck? You're stuck in a place and you're trying to live up to the expectations that others may have for you. Even when it's contrary to your truth. Give me 1 second because my computer battery's low and it's plugged in. So bear with me.
Yeah. As she looks for that, I just want to highlight Miss April's comment on Facebook. She said that the Our Deepest Fear poem is one of her favorites, and it's one of mine. I told Miss Kia that I was like, "Oh my God, that's one of my favorite poems and quotes." And put it on generation. I remember when I first heard it. I don't know if y'all know, was Coach Carter. It was in the movie, and he was empowering the students, and the kids got up and they started saying it. And I remember when I first saw that movie, it was with Samuel L. Jackson. I was like, Googling, I need to know the whole thing. I gotta know it. So Miss April, thank you for sharing that, because it really became one of my favorite go-tos on my website. I actually have that excerpt, Our Deepest Fear.
See?
So powerful to just say that out loud, even when you're not. If I say it enough, I mean, it'll start resonating. So I just wanted to add that in.
That's good. Thank divine alignment. And hello, April. That's my friend we went to school together, grew up together in high school. So hi, April. So again, the piece is really powerful, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Whitney. When you speak it out loud, when you speak it out loud, because there is power in the words that we speak. And so as we move into the meat of the presentation, I just shared that at the end of 2012, I came to the very end of myself. And I knew that healing was near, but how do I get to that place? And so I had to work through some things. I had to do some introspection. I had to do some journaling. I had to get to a place to where I was whole. At that particular time, I had shut down dating. I said, you know what? I'm done for a while. This is, I got to focus on some other things. I have to focus on me, because I knew what God had promised. And sometimes the situations that we're in look the complete opposite of what God has said that we what God has for us. I'll just say that, because I can go into that a little deeper. But sometimes what we're experiencing is the direct opposite of what we know is coming, what's been told to us, but we have to do the work to get there. And this is what this is about. Every session is really about doing the work, doing the internal work, doing the soul work. And these are things that don't get discussed very often, because in society, we're told to go this route this way, but how many of you know that route, there's detours along the route? We're told to go to school, get an education, get your job, do this, and everything will be just fine. That's not always the case, right?
No, it's not.
And so the soul work and being intentional about who we are and being intentional about our relationships and being intentional about our health and wellness and our wholeness is most important in order for us to move forward, in order and for us to say yes to ourselves, in order for us to live that abundant life that is there for us to live. Not to say we won't have problems, not to say that we won't have challenges, but we'll have the tools if we do the work. And so we can navigate through those challenges and navigate through those tough times and come out on the other side as the resilient people that we are.
I have a comment from someone on Facebook. They said, Miss Mona, detours are real. So you have to be able to, how you going to navigate it? You going to stop? You going to get out the car? You going to cry? What are you going to do? But we have to, it's a detour. You got to figure it out.
That's right. And the detours, you don't know how long the detour is going to be, right? How deep and vast that detour is going to be. But they are indeed real, but we have been given everything that we need to overcome. And so that's what we want to talk about today. In this climate of fear that we are living in, we have to be able to not only help ourselves, but to help one another. And so when we talk about saying yes, one of the first things is to keep the right people around you. That's the first point.
You're going to get out the car. You're going to cry. Sorry. What are you going to do? But we have. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm trying to monitor the Facebook and this. So, you know, that's detour. We're going to work it out.
That's right. That's right. That's it. And we appreciate you because we know you're holding it down in multiple places virtually. So yes, indeed. But we have to keep the right people around us, right? Mm-hmm. And we see things online so much, and some of us may have even been guilty of posting or sharing. We hear a lot about it. People are calling it the cancel culture, right? Yeah. If they're not with you, then leave them. Move on behind. You don't need that mess in your life. And it's true to a certain extent, but we can't cancel everybody, right? Now, let's say there's some folks that we do need to cancel, right? Let's just be honest. There's people are at different places. We don't need toxic situations in our life. A lot of us are, I hate to say trying to survive because it's more to life than surviving, but they're surviving and thriving. But when it comes to toxic relationships, that is another area. But I wholeheartedly believe when we get right with ourselves, you determine what you attract. Mm-hmm. The energy that we carry will determine who and what we attract. Now, listen, everybody has a bad day, right? Lord knows. Lord. Your day-to-day energy will determine what you attract in your life. So what's your perspective on life? Are you being intentional? Who are you surrounding yourself with? That all comes first to your relationship. First and foremost, it's about your relationship with yourself, our relationship with ourselves. How do we see ourselves? And ladies, we have a lot to work through with regard to how we see ourselves, right? Yep. How we see ourselves, how we value ourselves determines who we allow in our space.
In terms of perspective, I want to highlight a comment from Miss Bethany watching on YouTube. She said, I think of life detours like traffic. A detour will lead you home or to your destination. So I think that was a good.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. And detours aren't necessarily a bad thing. Let's talk about that. Detours aren't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes the delay is needed because we don't know what's up ahead. Sometimes we need to be rerouted. And when we get in a hurry and we get ahead of ourselves and we get ahead of the Most High, we can get into some mess. And I'm sure all of us know about that. And so sometimes the detour comes, of course, detours, what do? They reroute you. But it all comes down to the right perspective. And it all comes down to having faith in ourselves and faith in our Creator. And so let's stay on this point, because there's 3 points: keeping the right people around you, starting with yourself. It's important that we take time to really get to know who we are. In this society, we're told who we are, right? Especially as women, especially as women of African descent, women of color, right? Mm-hmm. We are told who we are or who we should be. And so we have to dig through that, or how we should be, depending on our role, depending on our title, depending on a number of factors. Mm-hmm. And it takes courage to be able to get to a place to where it's like, this is who I am. Not that this is who I am, because we hear that a lot. This is who I am. I'm not changing for anybody. Either accept me for who I am. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about ego-based behaviors or thinking, right? But being able to say, this is who I am, this is where I am right now. Mm-hmm. The only person's expectations that I can live up to are mine. What are the expectations that I have of myself? My life might not look like the way my loved one wants it to look. My life might not look like the way those in my community wants it to look. I might not be in the profession that they think highly of. I might not have went to the school they wanted me to go to. I might not have children. I might be single, whatever it might be. But this is the life. This is the life that God saw fit for me to have right now. So in that, let me show gratitude for where I am right now. Let me evaluate where I am right now. So who am I? And in order to really get down to who we are, we have to stop. We have to ask ourselves some questions that only we can answer. Again, we're talking about keeping the right people around us, starting with ourselves. How can we be a friend to anyone if we don't like ourselves? If we can't be around ourselves? I know growing up, I'm my mother's only child, and my mother's actually, she's on the call too. Hey, mama. I know it's the middle of the day, so I'm grateful for family and friends and Lexington Housing Authority participants for joining us. But I remember coming up, I'm my mother's only child. I have a brother, and we have the same dad, 10 years apart. And a lot of cousins who are like siblings as well. But I remember someone asked me, they said, and this is prior to, me being married now, but I was single, had my own place. And someone said, you live by yourself, you're single. I mean, what do? Just stare at the walls? I mean, and I said, I have that luxury. If that's what I want to do, I can sit there and stare at the walls. Yeah. And guess what? In some peace. Because we think that sometimes, especially as women, we'll keep company just to have someone around, right? Even within our friendships, it may not be healthy, but just so we're not by ourselves. But once you start to love yourself, once you start to discover who you are, you don't mind being alone. And I'm not talking about isolated, but spending time alone. Many may be able to relate. When you're young, or maybe a teenager, a young adult, you wanted to go somewhere and your friends didn't want to go, or they may not have been able to go. And so you just didn't go, right? Well, I can't find anybody to go with me. I got to the point where I said, you know what? I'm me. I'm somebody. If I want to go to this conference and no one's interested or what have you, that's okay. That's where they are. This is where I'm at. But I'm going to go and get what is for me. And so, but I had to get to that place, because we can miss out on a lot when we're checking for what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is saying, the comparison and competition. God is saying, no, keep your eyes on me. Keep your eyes on me. Move forward accordingly. It may feel uncomfortable right now. You may feel by yourself right now. You may feel as though nobody understands, because let's be real, at this day and time, there's so many that are not just isolated, but suffering with depression, because isolation can cause depression and anxiety. And that's why this is so important that we gather today and we talk about saying yes to ourselves. We understand that we have unlimited power within us, but we have to be able to tap into it. And so as we're doing that self-inventory, and again, make sure you're taking some notes, you have to ask yourself some questions. Who am I? Who am I? What are some of my interests? What are some of my strengths? What are some of my weaknesses? And you begin to journal. I hope there's some folks on the line that journal. There is power in journaling and writing. You journal, Whitney?
Yes, I'm always for a new notebook. Me and Miss Age have talked about that. I'm powerful writing. I journal all the time.
Yes, indeed. You journal. And sometimes people say, well, what do I journal? I don't know what to write down. I was just talking to one of my younger cousins several weeks ago. I said, write that down, because if you stay stuck, I don't know what you're judging yourself. I don't know what to write. I don't know. I don't want to sound this way. Write that down. I got this new journal. I don't know what to write in here, but I'm writing.
Exactly.
We have to learn how to be real and organic with ourselves and vulnerable with ourselves. As far as journaling, you can write down prayers. I'm big on that. Quotes. I've been collecting quotes for years from our ancestors and some of those that are still with us, just collecting that wisdom. And so as we are learning to say yes to ourselves, as we're learning how to actually keep the right people around us, you showing up here is saying that you are ready to say yes to you. We may not be able to gather in person, but we can still gather virtually. We can still connect voice to voice, right? Absolutely. We can still keep the right people around us, even in this virtual world that we're currently in. So I want to get back to some of those soul searching questions, learning about ourselves. Again, who am I? What are some of my likes and dislikes? And then you may ask yourself, one person I highly respect is who? Who do I respect and why? Think about some of their qualities and attributes. I spend the most of my time doing what? One goal I really want to achieve is what? I am happiest when you're doing what? One area I really need to improve in my life is what? We're talking about reflection and introspection. I am most proud of my ability to what? And here's one. Okay, this is deep. Again, keeping the right people around you, healthy relationships, starting with self. The 3 things I want people to say about me after I pass on are what? Now most of us want a long life, long, healthy life. So we're talking about 50 decades, 50, 60 decades, right? But that question right there really, really helps us to think about our lives. What do you want people to say about you? What do you want your legacy to be? Are you on that path now? Why or why not? What are some of the barriers that keep you from moving forward in some of your goals? What are some of the barriers right now? Is it fear? I myself have struggled with fears, and now I recognize what fear is and the many disguises. Is it insecurities? Is it comparison? Is it childhood trauma? What stops you, or what is keeping you, or if not you, a loved one, from saying yes to yourself? From obtaining that goal, that thing that you've been saying that you have been wanting to do, whether it's starting a business, starting a ministry, writing a book, just being a better loved one. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes we say, oh man, I'm this age and I thought I would be doing this and that. Throw that out, because we can map out our lives, right? But then when we start living, as the older folks say, just keep on living. Like, oh, okay, well, I have my plans, but
I had my plans. I knew at 25 I was gonna have it all together.
25.
It was something about 25. Mind
Yeah.
you, I'm 12 thinking this, because you also think 25 is so old. I'll just share that. Yeah, I definitely thought like 25. I'm already have a house. I'm gonna probably have about 3 kids by then. I'll be married,
Yes.
big house, fence, and all the, to pick all of that. No, that wasn't even, I wasn't even nowhere close to that at 25.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for that, because we have these expectations, but we have to, the detours, be okay, adjusting it, but still having a goal. But life is funny.
That's it. That's it, Whitney.
If I may, I want to say that there was a comment about the detours.
Yeah, okay.
And so I want to say, you ever heard that saying, sometimes you think something's happening to you and it's actually happening for you.
For you.
And so when it comes to detours, you're talking about looking at some of our shadow, some of the parts that are barriers to who it is we want to be.
Yeah.
And even that can actually be something that purges what is blocking you from your goal.
That's
I
good.
might think having people who I might have thought were for me and then find out they're not for me. Well, that makes it purges me of that codependency. And now my reliance is more on source,
That's
God,
right.
instead of looking at, and it could be even a relationship that I might have been in for the wrong reason.
Yes.
It might have been that I wanted some notoriety, or maybe it was a relationship where the person has status or whatever, but wasn't an honest person.
Yeah.
And so that superficial, immature thinking that's a relationship was purged, because now I will go into things, like you said, intentional and focused on my health and well-being.
That's good.
So I just love this topic. I'm just
Yes.
I want to put a couple comments to make sure I highlight everybody. So I put this up earlier, but Miss Kathy commented saying, yes, keep the right people in your circle, and positive energy is key, which is what Miss Sage was saying. You have to purge some people. It is what it is. Everybody's not for you. Miss April came back and said that her pastor says that often delay is not denial. So it's so true that detours can lead to and that's the key word, your destination.
Yes.
Instead of that comparison of what your friend went through, or what your sister did, or your father. Everybody's path is different. So I love that comment from Miss April. And I have a comment from Miss Adrian.
Hey, Adrian.
She said that's why it's so important to define those expectations we have for ourselves too, and keep them on our forefront. So focusing on what we expect of ourselves, not sometimes other people. What do I expect for Whitney? And reminding that I shouldn't also put those on the back burner, perhaps for other relationships, because again, saying yes to me, am I good? Am I good with this? So I appreciate that comment as well.
Definitely.
Comment.
Wonderful comments and feedback. Wait, this is so good. This is so good. So when we talk about keeping the right people around us, one of the things that I really want to focus on that we've said, and Miss Sage also just mentioned, is being intentional.
Mhm.
Being intentional. I mean, and that the last few years as I really meditated on that, being intentional with our life, being intentional really daily.
Yeah.
I have I call it a morning regimen that I've had for quite some time now. And if I get off of that, I feel different. Like there are certain things that I do in the morning with regards to, drinking my water, even before that, my prayer, my meditation, affirmations. There's certain things that I have to do for myself in order to set the tone for that day, because we don't know what the day is going to be. I'm a big believer on writing things down. I have a planner calendar. It looks a mess. I always say if I lost it, but all of my business would be out in the street, right? But I'm big on writing things down. But even in my planner, it's prayer, affirmations, meditation. There's certain things that I have to do for me. It's a saying that says, when you know yourself, you can help yourself. In order to be able to be intentional about my day and about the time that I have been allotted in the day. And especially as women, we're in so many different roles, right? Whether you are married or single, you have children, you don't, you're retired, you're active in your community, you have your career, your business. We are pulled in so many different directions. And because we do what we do so well, the expectation is that we don't sweat, we don't cry, we don't get tired, and we don't complain, right? Lies.
It's
All
not true. You do all of those things.
so good when we handle business, but we have to understand that it's important for us to be intentional with our time. And sometimes you do have to be selfish, not self-centered, but sometimes we do have to say, you know what, I have to do this for me. Even if it's okay, I really need to go and get me some time, whether it's a bath or shower, and just have that time.
Mhm.
And so these are things when we talk about knowing ourselves and keeping the right people around us. We can't continue to look on the outside for what we already have on the inside once we tap into it. I remember April, she was saying her pastor says delay is not denial. And I'm from Indianapolis, and my husband and I live in North Carolina now. And so we have the same pastor, right? And so one of the things that I remember him saying, this was years ago, saying, if you don't like you, if you don't want to be with yourself, and my friend back home would say, if you get on your own nerves, and sometimes that happens, how can we expect other people to want to be in that space, right?
Mm.
Because our space is a sacred space. And that's one of the things that I really want us to understand, that our space and the energy that we bring is sacred. Now, we have a lot of work to do to get back to really honoring that sacred space and understanding what that means.
Mhm.
But God didn't bring us into this world just to survive and struggle. We have seen, especially as a people, enough pain, strife, and struggle, right?
Yes.
It's okay to thrive. It's okay to want more out of life, not just for more's sake. We should be growing. We should be evolving. We should be getting to know ourselves, because you never come to a point where you have arrived, right?
Yeah.
We should be doing that soul work. We should be tapping into the wisdom that came before us. There were so many greats that are no longer with us, but they left us so much. They left us so much wisdom. And all you have is at the tap of your fingers. Now I have a Word document. It's about 15 pages long. I've had it for about probably 10, 15 years, where I just collect quotes.
Mm.
And there's so much wisdom there. You can take one quote and unpack that, or one piece that we just read, and really marinate on that.
Mm.
These are things that we're not told on television or what have you. You have to go to a deeper place in order to do that soul work. And so we're talking about saying yes to ourselves, keeping the right people around you, healthy relationships. And I'm going to say this, sometimes we may have to sit a relationship to the side for a little bit. Doesn't mean we're giving up. Doesn't mean we're better. But if it's unhealthy, and we know what unhealthy is, right? We know how that feels, because we cannot allow dysfunction to become our normal. We can't. We don't have time for that. We have to, I love you. And I don't know, I can't tell you how to do it, because every relationship is different. But we owe it to ourselves. We sometimes people, places, and things may try to interfere with your peace. And again, we're not talking about canceling. We're not talking about misunderstandings that come up in relationships with our family, our friends, on our jobs. I believe there are healthy ways that we can work through situations that come up. We're talking about toxic people, toxic mindsets, and behaviors. And we have to be able to recognize that, not coming from a place of condemnation or judging, but understanding this is where they are right now. I'm going to pray for them. I've tried to help. I've tried to listen or what have you, but I also want to honor my space. And so keeping the right people around us. And sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations. But again, people who know us and people who love us are not going to take offense to every little thing, right? Yeah. And if they do, that's where they may be at that particular time. But again, when we know who we are, and when we show up as ourselves consistently, we already have the tools to work through certain situations and challenges that come up. The second point is imagining ourselves where it is we want to be. Visualization. And both of you all look like you got something to say on this. We're talking about visualization, imagining yourself where it is that you want to be. What does that look like? I have a vision board here. I'll just bring it over a little bit, that I did several years ago, and I keep it in our office. And last year or so, the last 2 years, I looked at it, and because I pulled it out and I said, I'm going to sit this where I can see it. And I realized that I was accomplishing some of those things on the vision board. Mm-hmm. And there's power again in speaking. There's power in visualizing, using our imagination. It is so powerful when you actually can, you're in the situation that you're in now. It may not be favorable, but when you can actually see past where you are, yes, be present in the moment. Yes, be grateful, and gratitude is everything. But when you can actually begin to see where it is that you want to be in whatever area of life it is, then you can start taking steps towards that vision. Mm-hmm. So imagine yourself, whether it's in the theater, operating in your business. You can imagine yourself having healthier relationships with loved ones where there may be wounds right now. Mm-hmm. But think about that when you imagine certain conversations or you visualize. It happened to me some years ago. A conversation came to me and I'm like, well, what is happening here? I'm not even able to see this person right now. Next thing I know, I was able to see the person, and we had that conversation that was deposited in my spirit. Wow. And that's healing, because Alice Walker says healing begins where the wound was made. And so we have to tap into our imagination. Oh, yes, Miss Adrian. I just looked off and she said, we got to stop questioning our intuition. Y'all are helping me today.
Yeah.
And if I may add something, you know, it's amazing because when you envision yourself as you could be,
Yes,
you'll start to notice if you have the right people around you.
that's it.
Because
Connected.
sometimes, and I have probably done this to people myself, seeing a person just in one dimension. And I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to just park it there so that you can finish your presentation. I had, in the height of COVID, a phone call in which a woman said, I have to call you right back. I said, okay. And she said, you are okay though. And I said, of course I'm okay, because I know that my words are like a paintbrush. It's like clay. It's going to manifest. So I started trying this out,
Yes.
and she got so mad at me and hung up on me and didn't speak to me for months. Now I'm saying this because it seems small, but it wasn't small. It was that she said to me what she heard, because she said, you know, it don't have to be like that. That was her response.
Did she have the next action, Miss Sage?
We were on the phone, and what was really happening is, in the height of COVID, sometimes we can feel guilty if we find that peace. Sometimes we can feel if we don't have drama. Well, what, you know, sometimes, like I heard a man say, it was a person who was from Tibet, and he was a monk, and he said, you know, the average person, if they stayed by themselves in a room for any length of time, they would find that they were with a total stranger. And I say that because out of habit, sometimes we'll speak curses or blessings over
That's
our
right.
lives. We have a choice. But
That's
out
right.
of habit, sometimes we'll dialogue with the way the people around us. And then there's so much on television that reinforces, so much in the media, so much in songs that reinforce things that aren't even in alignment with our values.
That's right. That's
But
right.
we're buying into it, and
That's
we're not
right.
guarding ourselves,
Mhm.
because I might like to just veg out on a Netflix series, and everybody in it is killing, or they're stealing, or they're lying, or they're cheating. And so I say, you know, when you're trying to envision yourself as who you desire to be, there'll be a lot of things that'll come up that's the opposite.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And
Yes.
what do we do about that, Kia?
So okay, the test definitely will come. And I'm gonna say this too. I have to think about how I'm gonna say it. The conditioning is real.
Mhm.
The indoctrination is real to certain things with regards to the society that we live in, right? When you talk about what we're watching and what we're listening to, we say often it's just entertainment. It's not just entertainment. The music that some may listen to with certain lyrics or what have you, it's not just entertainment. The what we see on television, it's not just entertainment. And you know this by way of certain songs. I love music. I love old school music. I can't imagine life without music. It is such a gift. And I think about how I feel with certain songs that come on, right? How it makes me feel. It's real because it's a vibrational energy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when songs come on that are more aggressive, you start to feel more aggressive, right? I can remember in college, um, they would have these parties at college, and I guarantee you, every time it was probably 2 or 3 songs that were played. Now, this is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. People would fight. And it was like, are they playing the songs so folks can fight? Because the songs are aggressive songs. So we have to think about vibrational energy because it's real. And so when you think about the fear that is going forth constantly, if you're watching the news constantly, which I don't recommend that, you may want to watch it for a few minutes to see what's going on, but the same things have been going on for almost a year, politically, socially, or what have you. I'm just saying we have to be mindful of what we take in, because vibrational energy is real.
And
So
Miss April Aldridge says you have to guard your mind, your heart, your body, and your spirit.
that's right.
And so when we try to vision and reimagine our lives,
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of all the things that validate the old person.
Woo!
Or the person as you're evolving.
That's right. That's right. And we have to let people change and evolve. We have to, and change for the better. But so often when people change and evolve, it can make those around them uncomfortable, right? But that's not our stuff. That's not our concern. If you know that you are growing, if you know that God knows the plans he has for us, if you know that you are moving forward, we know what we go through personally. Nobody knows our struggles like we do. As much as we love our loved ones, our family, our best friends, our parents, no one knows what we go through. Mm-hmm. I have a chronic disorder. And so there are times where it takes me all the way down pain-wise. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes people may see, well, I mean, she's speaking just like today and getting her groove on, which I like to do, but they don't understand. Just last week, I was knocked all the way down. Wow. We don't know what we carry. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we have to, we have to be more compassionate and understanding to one another, getting back to that as a community and as a people. But again, the visualization, it doesn't just involve us. It can involve your family. You can visualize eating healthier. You may not know where to start, but okay, I'm going to stop eating this. Right now, I'm just going to take that out of my diet and I'm going to bring this in. So every week, I'm going to eat this fruit or vegetable. Write it out. Put it on a vision board. Imagine yourself where it is that you want to be and start to take the steps and then get around the right people to help you get there. The last point with this abbreviated presentation is learn to approve yourself. We have got to learn to approve ourselves. So we're talking about saying yes to ourselves, what that really means. What are the barriers that get in the way of us saying yes to ourselves? Because I believe when we truly say yes to our Creator, when we truly surrender, automatically we say yes to ourselves because we are created in the image of God, right? So, okay, I've tried it my way. My way got a little raggedy. What am I to do? I trust what you've put in me. I trust what you've given me. As Adrian said, I trust the intuition that you've given me. Help me to move forward. And then as you pray, as you grow, your prayers start to change, right? Because this is not just about begging God, begging, please, 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 please. No, I am courageous. You move into that when we're talking about approving ourselves. Not waiting for someone else to approve us, not waiting for someone else to get us, but learning to approve ourselves, learning to get to know ourselves, understanding that I may not look like a supermodel. I may not look like the next person, but that's okay. You know what? Because I look like me. Growing up, I experienced a lot of her childhood trauma, harassment, teasing, bullying. Until I got to the place where I remember a conversation I had with my mother. She got so tired of it. She told me, you go to that school and you tell these girls A, B, and C. That's all I needed to hear. Because my mama told me I can give it to them.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and do that. Now, this was probably, I think, middle school or what have you, 6th grade. And it felt so good to speak up for myself.
Yeah.
Knowing that my mother had my back.
Yeah.
No, and I had a little friend there. I was short, but I had a friend that was shorter than me, and she was right there. And back in the day, they make a circle, so they say fight, fight. Everybody comes around or what have you. My little friend stood there, and I stood up for me.
Yeah.
We have to learn to stand for us. We have to learn how to show up for us unapologetically. To listen to that internal voice, to learn to approve ourselves in order to say yes to ourselves, in order to find our rhythm, our divine flow. It is there. But we have to first acknowledge the conditioning, some of the things that we have to get past, some of the untruths that we've been affected by about who we are, maybe even individually and as a people or as women or whatever group you may be a part of. But understanding how the conditioning and the untruths can affect us, and even how we see ourselves, and even how we see one another, even how we interact with one another. That's one of my pet peeves is getting together, especially group projects, and even as an adult. And it's like, come on, we cannot continue to be at odds. We cannot continue to compare and compete with one another. We don't have time out for that. You bring something to the table. I bring something to the table. We bring something to the table. But we have to be able to see ourselves for who we are and then see one another. Everybody wants to be seen and valued and acknowledged. So we have to keep the right people around us. Imagine where we want to be. Write it down. Make your vision boards. Pray about it. Affirm, meditate, and learn to approve yourself, contrary to what the world says, contrary to what a loved one may have said. We have to learn to approve ourselves because God already has. God already has.
That's true.
And so you may be in a situation right now where you're wanting more for yourself, you're wanting more for your family. It is possible. But it starts with us. I have a phrase: think, speak, be the change you want to see. It starts with us. Nobody else. Nobody can do our soul work for us but us.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to stop right there because I'm getting excited.
Me too. I'm getting excited too.
Yeah.
You just gave us so much in that short amount of time. All of our presentations are abbreviated.
Oh yeah.
And I know this is your signature talk, and I'm just so thankful for Valentine's Day that we chose this, because the healthiest relationship you could have with self could only spill over into others. And one of my takeaways is you talked about being able to love on yourself. And so I met a group of young ladies who were at UNCG, University of North Carolina, Greensboro. They had a club called Wow Women. And these were young students, freshmen, sophomore, and that stood for with or without. And these young ladies said, with or without a man, with or without a child, with or without what you fill in the blank, that they were wow women, that they affirmed themselves. So, Miss Kia, Lanae, you have a question or something, or Whitney, you want to say
Well, I
something?
just want to add that one, thank you, Miss Kia. I love that. I'm really big on self-development and just empowering myself, because I understand that it definitely start with me first. I just want to add that you said something about, approving yourself first. We live in a world of phones and social media, and some that validation is so need it, So I would like, and sometimes I have to catch myself like, wait a minute, because I have done work and I understand that I don't need that validation really from anything. And
That's
as you
right.
talk about you being a child, I remember my own growing up, like having been bullied for being a darker, the colorism of being
Mhm.
dark skinned.
Mhm.
And I always tell people, like, I really don't know where I found that fight from. It was just almost like innate in me to be
Yeah.
like, oh, you gonna say that about me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I was a bulldog, and I have to catch myself. But I say that to say is I'm grateful for my parents. They've always empowered.
Mhm.
They always told me I was good enough. You are
Mhm.
beautiful. So I'm so grateful that I was able to go into the world knowing that, oh, I'm good. But
Yeah.
we catch ourselves. We have different moments that we have to be more intentional about saying that self-worth. We have to be more intentional of doing the work. And so I would just like to share that if as we navigate, because social media in life, I don't think I think it's just going to get more and more.
Yeah.
I would encourage specifically women a lot of times to, we don't need that validation via social
That's right.
media. We don't
That's
need that
right.
validation on whatever platforms that you are beautiful or that you're this, or whether it's from a man. And I just want to encourage women, again, this is a love month, and knowing that, like Miss A said, you are good enough being
That's
single.
right.
You are enough if you're not a mother, or if you are a mother, you
That's
are
right.
enough if you're not where you want to be in life. But if we could just continue to try to keep that
Yeah.
and kind of keep it at the forefront, we're gonna have our moments. But
Right.
because I see a lot of, I can see that there's not a lot of self-worth a lot of times, and it
Right.
can get draining. And that's what you're saying, be,
Yeah.
watching, because
Mhm.
what am I doing? What am I connecting myself with that's kind of making me feel like, ugh. So we
Right.
disconnect sometimes.
That's
Then,
it.
yeah, we
Mhm.
disconnect to reconnect with ourselves.
That's
And so I
right.
think that's important. So I just wanted to add that little part
That
in.
that's so good, Whitney and Sage. And I'm glad you said that, because those are things that, again, when you know yourself, you can help yourself, right? We shouldn't be online 24 hours a day. There you have to disconnect. And for me, I feel different when I turn my cell phone off at night. And people say, "You turn your cell phone off?" I do, because we still have a home phone. Only three people call it: my mom, my best friend, and so because I need that peace, I need that break. And as far as social media and us even being in the digital age even more now, everything in moderation. Because it is easy to get caught up when you're looking at things, looking at pictures. You may be feeling a certain way, and then we're looking at somebody else's life. We never know the whole story, right? We never know the whole
Never
story.
know.
And so we have to keep that in mind, that that spirit of comparison, and feeling that as though we lack. You may not be where you want to be right now. You may not be you know that there may be more for you, but at the same time, we have to keep our eyes on ourselves, really. Because when we're trying to be like this person over here, just take for instance this work. This is personal development, spiritual development. When you think about it, and then I also work in with cultural empowerment. But sometimes we may think, oh, I want to do what he or she does. It looks great. It looks glamorous. We don't know the half of it. When you work in certain fields, people may not understand that with me being in personal development and communications, there's a lot that I go through inward, spiritually and personally. I'm on my own journey. In order to be able to empower others, I have to myself be empowered, but I also have to work through some things, because you want to show up authentically. And so if we just keep our eyes on our path, right? If we understand that we are enough, and sometimes it's easier said than done, but we have to understand, and we have to make sure we have those tools to bring ourselves back to center, because we all get off sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
We all sometimes, you got to go back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that got a little, that had a little stank on there, right? But being able to go back and apologize and really be honest with ourselves. And those are the words that we talked about today, being intentional with our lives, and also being mindful of the village, because again, in this day of social distancing and things of that nature, the village is still there. We just have to tap into it differently, and we need one another. We need one another. There may be times where, yes, you may need alone time, but there's also times where you need to get on the phone and connect. There's several people on this call now that I'm so grateful for. My mom is one. We talk several times a week. My sister friend, Cheryl and April, because we're communal people. And so we need one another, and even having mentors. Some of my mentors have gone on. Maya Angelou. That's auntie. Whether she didn't know it, of course, but Maya Angelou, I get so much inspiration from those who have gone before and those who are still alongside us. So we have a well of wisdom that we can tap into. The village is still there, even though it may look a little different. And we do have some healing, some mass healing that we need to do.
And that in and of itself is why I told Whitney, and I said it to you. We talked about it before. Whitney and I have been doing this for a year. And when I said to the participants that we decided in 2021, we're going to take it up another level. Now you see, now you know, because Kia, I'm saying, I mean, this was just so wonderful. And as we move forward, we want to be able to empower people with things that they could use. And this was on such a deep soul level, because we cover a lot of topics here, whether it's financial management or just the resources that Lexington Housing Authority has, the programs and things like that. So I know you have a question. Did you think of a question for somebody to win a gift card? Are we giving out one, Whitney, or?
We're going to give out one today. So we're going to have Miss Kia ask a question. And so we'll give people the opportunity to ask. We would love for our Lexington community to definitely answer, just because, this is for them. But if we don't get anything from our Lexington community, that's fine. We'll definitely be able to issue out that gift card to whoever answers the question. But we would like to give them the opportunity. So Ms. Kia, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So the question is, what are three of the things, because there's a whole list, but what are three of the things that we need to do in order to say yes to ourselves? The three main points that we talked about today.
I'll give them a couple minutes. We don't have no like Jeopardy music or nothing to play. We'll just give them a little time to answer. While we wait, I want to share a comment that Miss April also, she said that another bit of wisdom from her pastor: whatever you feed most, it grows. So we need to be careful and intentional on what we feed into our spirit and minds.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Good stuff.
That's right.
All right. So it looks like we have a answer from Bethany. So can you read that one? It says, know yourself, visualize your purpose, and learn to approve yourself.
Yes. I'm thinking, because the first part, we're gonna go with that. Yes.
All right.
I hesitated. Know yourself. Yes, that is a part of keeping the right people around you. So starting with you. So that's right. Keep the right people around you, starting with yourself. Visualize your purpose or where it is that you want to be, and learn to approve yourself. Go, Bethany.
All right. Congratulations, Bethany. I'll email you in reference to the gift card. So congratulations. And thank you. This was good. Like, this was such a good segue in what me and Miss Sage have been talking about from like December, January, because it's all about this week. We're changing the mind.
That's right.
We really start doing some stuff. We got to start working here first.
That's right.
And it all starts here. It starts with that pen. It starts with that paper. Our words. So I'm so excited.
And it's not, Whitney and Sage, as you know, it's not. Some people say, "Oh, well, that's okay. It's great to be encouraged," but or sometimes when we find ourselves having a good time, we say, "Oh, I went on vacation. Now I got to get back to reality." That's reality too.
Mhm.
It's okay to be well.
Yeah.
It's okay to have the right tools in your toolkit. We should be practicing wellness.
Mhm.
It's good to be able to grow. And so these are things that we have to normalize. And also, one of the things I share with my mom, there's so much out there now, motivational videos, free. You can watch things on YouTube.
Mhm.
There's so many resources out there other than what uh, we may be presented with. I'll just say that. But you have to search, and for me, I am so grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful to be here to have been here with uh,
Wow.
you, Sage, and Whitney, and just to be able to connect. Um, in the words of Maya Angelou, I come as one, but stand with 1,000 around me, with
Absolutely.
regards to our ancestors, and even those loved ones that we may be temporarily separated with, because again, we are communal people. And when you say yes to you, again, it's not about being self-centered, but being able to tap into the fullness of who we are, our divine flow, our divine alignment, and being better. And when we're better, those around us are better. And so
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure I shared that.
yeah, awesome. So before you go, can you let everybody know where they can find you? So anybody that wants to maybe follow your work, if you're on social media or have a page or something, can you give
I'm
that?
going to actually put it in the chat right now.
Okay.
So
Well,
at least
I
they
think
have her,
you're
her.
sending it in the. I think you're sending it in the private chat, but because they couldn't see that, that's not on the live chat.
So they can thank you for asking, and thank you, Sage, for putting that in there. My website is KiaLanae.com, and that's KiaLanae, KiaLanae.com. You can also connect with me on Twitter. I don't know if anyone is still on Twitter, but it's Miss Kia Lanae, and it's the same thing on Instagram.
Okay.
I also have a website called edifynewsletter.com, and that's really about edifying and inspiring our culture. And so it's edifynewsletter.com, and we're also on Facebook and Instagram. And so I look forward to connecting with those who are present today, and just moving forward in our divine purpose and divine alignment, going higher and higher.
I'm here for it. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, we'll be next month. We'll let you know the time. It's going to be virtual, so that's the place. And thank you all for attending. We will see you all next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye bye.